Hi, everybody. This next article that I'm going to be talking about is day 5 of the instructional plans, which is the persuasive article, Long Summer Break Leaves Kids Behind. And for this one, you'll notice that I wrote persuasive and I highlighted that because, unlike the other piece, Is Summer Vacation Bad for You, which gave you both sides of the issue and let you make up your mind, this piece is very strongly persuasive, and you can just tell that based on the title. You can tell very clearly that the author's stance in this article is that summer vacation as we know it is something that's outdated and it's causing children to be at a disadvantage as opposed to those who attend year-round schooling. But again, I went with the color coding just because there is, I think, one counter argument in here where the author does address the other side. So I did orange again as the arguments against summer vacation, and then yellow, which is the arguments for summer vacation. So um, the first argument that I have highlighted here is that it says that there's very little that hasn't changed in our society except 1910 except summer vacation. So the author's argument there is that we're still using a structure from 1910, and that summer is something that's wasting money and it's wasting people's time. And so we need to adapt our school calendar just as we've adapted everything else in the past 110 years. The other argument here is that, again, as it was mentioned in the other article, there's this issue of learning loss, which is really the number one issue that people have with summer vacation. That there's this lack of learning and this actual slide back in knowledge that occurs in those 2 months. The next argument makes the distinction between children who, again, like in the other article, children who have come from different financial backgrounds. And it says that lower income children are most impacted by this summer vacation, by summer slide, because, parents who have money will be able to enrich their children and take them places and give them experiences, whereas children who come from families where they don't have as much money as their means aren't as extensive, those children are going to wind up spending their time in front of the TV or in front of video games. And this author argues that there's actually a correlation between childhood obesity increasing in the summer months because of that lack of activity and just sitting around. The next page brings up a counter argument, and so I highlighted that in yellow. So anytime an author wants to try to make their point and try to persuade the reader, they have to take the counter argument into consideration. And you know that from debating, from arguing with people, you have to anticipate what they're going to say to you in return so that you know how to respond to them. And your response is known as your rebuttal. It's what you say to that counter argument. And so the counter argument that the author includes in this article is that some students use the summer break to work and make money. Some students use the time to attend camps, they go on vacations, and that this would disrupt their family time. So those are the counter arguments. I just numbered them here, 1 through 3: summer jobs, time for enriching experience, and family vacations. The response to the counter argument there, so the rebuttal, is that none of these objections stack up against the long-term costs of wasted months in school and the increasing opportunity gap between rich and poor. So this author is saying, yeah, you're right. Some people might use the summer to do those things, to have, summer jobs, enriching opportunities, and vacation. But when you stack that up against what's lost in those months, they don't even stand a chance when you put the two up against each other. The argument here is that it's expensive when children go on summer vacation because that time that's wasted in the classroom equates with time that needs to be spent reviewing, lost instructional time, and as we all know, time is money. The author then goes back to continue to make the argument further, and that's where you see the orange again. So the author dealt with the counter argument, responded to it in the rebuttal, and now continues to make more points. So another point is that it just gives you options of how other schools seem to run their system. And so it talks about how, students will go to school for 45 days and then have 15-day breaks, and they will retain a 30-day summer vacation. So this is not saying that we shouldn't have summer at all. This is just saying you reduce it. Instead of being 60 days, summer is now 30 days, which would help to alleviate that summer slide because it's shortening the time that children are away from school. It also talks about, just like in the other article, students using that time to enrich or to get help that they might need. And so it talks about the benefits of a calendar that would allow for more flexibility. So that was that article, which was a persuasive one. And then for that one, we were asked to do the persuasive web. So here, all you had to do was in the middle, write down what the author's stance was. And as you could tell from the title, this author was very much against summer vacation. The title is Long Summer Break Leaves Kids Behind. So I wrote in the middle, summer vacation is an outdated model and it should be ended. And then around the outside, I just picked what I thought were 4 of the strongest arguments as to why summer vacation is outdated. So I pulled over here the line, in September, most students will go back to school having lost 2 months of grade level proficiency in math computation skills. So that's data. That is a good strategy to try to make your point, because when you're reading this, you're thinking 2 months of progress is lost over the summer. Over here, another argument is that most parents work and that many kids will get bored. Childhood obesity increases during the summer months. Again, trying to convince readers, an emotional appeal there. You're thinking about all of these kids who are sitting home over the summer with nothing to do, just wasting time, which is worse for children in low-income families. Argument number 3 is that there's an increasing opportunity gap between rich and poor. So the children who are most affected, negatively affected by summer vacation, are children who come from low-income families. And then the last argument here is that students could graduate early, take college level work. Kids who have fallen behind would have time to catch up. So just like in the expository piece, this author is arguing that by rearranging the school calendar, you would allow children to have more time to either accelerate themselves or to catch up if the calendar were changed. So that's it for the persuasive piece about summer vacation.